Ladies and gentlemen, warmly welcome into another episode of Shine Your Light Show. I am Julian, and today's topic is relationships. Something so interesting on this planet. And joining me today is Leah. So before we dive into the topic, I will, of course, invite her to say hello to all of you.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Shine Your Light. Today we have a very interesting topic that I am sure will serve a lot of humans. So, welcome.
Yes, it will, definitely, because the topic relationships is so wide, it's so broad, and we can include a lot of different things into today's conversation. However, I would like to point out at first that we don't have so much time available that we could go into each and every detail, because there can be courses and hours of material recorded in connection with the topic of relationships. But I will point out a few categories in which we will play. So one of them is romantic relationships. Then you have family relationships. Then you have workplace relationships. And for our younger viewers, or also those of you who are going to school later in your life, there are, of course, also school relationships. They are kind of very basic and also important in the life of someone who is growing up, because the school and its environment has got a big influence on how the human being then becomes an adult. So these are the main categories that I wanted to point out. Do you feel like you would add any, Leah?
Yeah, I feel like those are the most, the basic, like you said, school, work, and family. I think it's one of the most complicated ones. Family relationships, and with a partner, of course, romantic.
Yeah, so we kind of made a full circle. There is one that I would maybe just point out as well, although it was kind of included in all of this, what we shared already, and these are friendships, friendly relationships, if we want to call it that way. But you see, in school, you have many times friends, or in workplace, in family, or in romantic relationship. Well, if your romantic relationship is balanced, then you should be best friends. That's like the essential energy of it all. Because how could you really be great lovers if you are not in the friendly energy? Oh, excuse me. You see, that's kind of sign. It's true. That's how we say it around here. Usually, if you sneeze, you kind of confirm what was stated before. And yeah, it was the right moment to come up. So thank you, my sneeze. All right, we can go into it. We can go into it in many different ways. But let's start with the big one. Let's start with the big one, with romantic relationships. So, Leah, maybe you could start with this topic, your perspective. How would you explain it and what you want to share about it?
Okay, so romantic relationships, in my perspective, one thing about most relationships is that they are karmic relationships. It's one thing that I've noticed from my experience in my life and seeing other people. So, usually romantic relationships last a lot of time. Like people get married and they stay together for years and years of time, and they don't ask like why they are with that person. They are just with that person forever, and there is no reason, just because it is like that. And it's very interesting that in recent times this is not happening so much anymore. Like before, it used always be like that, but nowadays it's becoming more common to think about it and to not be with the same person for the whole life.
Some beautiful points you made there. I will first of all add for our broad audience what karmic relationships are.
Okay.
This is one explanation that it's going to serve many. And I would say that karmic relationships are connected with our agreements and experiences from before. You could say from your past lifetimes, from other versions of yourself. And we were many times playing certain games, maybe in one lifetime you were a lover with a certain soul in a different expression. In other, you could be sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, friends, all of these lines. I'm going to give a beautiful representation. You can imagine the sun shining with different rays. And if each ray is your different lifetime, your different expression, that's how you can see it. You see, like many stories, many different rays coming from the same sun. And this sun, this higher self, soul, I am presence, this is you. And then you play in many ways. And there is another sun shining with its rays, and then different rays meet on earth, and that's how you could represent relationships in a way, friendships. And yes, I love this metaphor. It was very nice. So many times they got tricky, they got foggy, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of frustration, hatred, and so on. And also some of the best feelings ever, excitement, beauty, passion for life. You see, there is such a thin line between love and hate, if we kind of use the more known expression in this world. And yeah, some beautiful points that Leah made, that in the past, especially in the last centuries, these relationships were not broken many times, like husband and wife, if we are speaking about this. And it's starting to change. I'm not saying it's changing totally or it has changed totally yet, but people are just not willing to stay in the same story, just in a different shape and package, And this is the era of awakening, also of the global awakening. So all of you watching this and all others who are inspired to remember who they truly are, just like me and Leah are, we are starting to really consider what is something that's bringing us joy, what is something that we honor ourselves with, that we show ourselves the true love and respect, so to speak, because many relationships are so seductive. but you can really feel, and we have all experienced it probably. They are so seductive, but you just can't stop with it because it's also so good, and at the same time it's driving you crazy and all the pain is coming up. So yeah, I could go on and on and on, and I know that all of you are very clear about what I just shared. It's possible to stop the pattern, and that can mean that the relationship ends and dissolves and you go into separate ways, or that you shift in yourself, that another person shifts as well, and you build the foundation of your relationship differently, consciously, from the space of pure heart and true love and acceptance of each other. Also acceptance of your humanity, which can be absolutely imperfect with all its wounds and anger and everything that's part of our human experience. But we invite our higher selves, our souls, into these relationships as well, and then see how it can open up and transform, or you simply already meet the person on such a level that it's not necessary to transform so much, but you just kind of click and it flows. Of course, I haven't seen a lot of that in my life, in my lifetime now, and also not in others, but it's definitely a possibility. And in my opinion, it's going to be more and more present in the years to come.
Yes, it's very beautiful. I think as people are waking up to themselves, they are realizing that they deserve a partner that respects them and that will support them. And it is happening from not only women saying that or men saying that, from both sides. I see that people are looking for good friends in a relationship and not just like a beautiful person, like, oh, she looks fine or he looks fine. But as we know ourselves, we know that there are parts of ourselves that want to make a dance with another being, and those parts kind of go, like, not go after but attract that person that will dance, like the partner can, when you are in this awakening and discovering more and more things, romantic relationships can be a very good help. They can be very helpful. The partner can be a very good teacher and also a mirror of your shadows, of your darkness. I've seen it for myself a lot of times, and it always seems like the other person is not perfect for me, or that is not appropriate, but actually the person is a living example of my darkness, and then I can see that and love that in them as a form of loving that in myself. It's kind of crazy, but it's a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, in my opinion, definitely other people can wonderfully mirror certain parts of you, or they can also mirror your pure passion, presence, joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as Leah beautifully pointed out, that it can be an incredible addition to your awakening, your enlightenment journey, your embodiment, whatever you are doing in your life. It's also one of the biggest distractions.
Yeah.
And I have to bring this up. I'm not so
Absolutely.
passionate about bringing this up, but I wouldn't be fair to myself or anyone else if I didn't bring this up. Because relationships can be many times a big preventer from truly following your real self and passion and who you are beyond your limitations. Relationships are very emotional usually and are very seductive, like we said. And don't get me wrong, I'm very, very for relationships. I love relationships. I love interacting with people. I love sharing love and everything connected with it. However, I've seen it on my personal case and in many examples, like when so many emotions are involved, it's sometimes really hard to see the bigger picture, and it's hard to stay in your awareness of what's truly going on because you're emotionally triggered. For instance, if certain person doesn't call you and they do it a few times, you feel disrespected many times when they say they were going to call you or something like that. Or when they choose to do something else, when they promised you they will do something with you, you get triggered again. Or you do it to them, like you can't keep your promise, or you just don't, you are not able to handle the pain or anger that another person is going through, and you may become frustrated at them very much. And I could continue with this example. We all know how it is. It sounds and looks so magical, but the truth is, at least until the year 2022, because this material is going to be probably available for many years to come, that relationships, while you are also getting to know yourself, who you truly are beyond just the human persona, with all the wounds from our past, from our childhood years, from our teenage years, from other lifetimes and other experiences, you are already dealing with this all. And then you add another person with everything they have. And now you kind of need to interact with these two rays. It requires two grand beings to be able to do it until the fields, the energy fields of individuals are not so balanced and cleared that it just feels easy there, you know? And that was kind of the example that we brought a few minutes ago, that we brought up a few minutes ago. But until then, I would say that relationship and relationships are a lot of work, a lot of conscious work, because Leah mentioned that it requires you to kind of look at all of your parts. And if you feel like you can explain a little bit more to the people what you meant with darkness and the energies you mentioned, because we don't want it to be some kind of horrifying word. I'm not using it particularly because it's very much misunderstood in the world. That's why I'm going to invite Leah, what she meant with that she needs to confront her dark parts when she's interacting also in the relationship. And maybe we can use the most simple terms and explanations possible.
Yeah, I would say that your darkness is like parts of yourself from many, many lifetimes that you haven't seen yet. You haven't looked at it, that may be suffering or victim energies and drama energies and many things like patterns that were repeating. So let's say, or like it can be in any area of life. Let's suppose you are doubting yourself. You have this thing, you doubt yourself. Like in your true self, you don't doubt yourself. But there is this part of you that's what I would call darkness, that is doubting. So in a romantic relationship, maybe the other person that is with you would be doubting you. And then you would look at them and you'd say, oh, but they don't trust in me. But then it would be you, and then they would be a mirror of that, you know, like the other person is not supporting you, but maybe it was you in the first place that wasn't like totally believing you were capable of doing something. So that's why I say it is a mirror, and it can be good, but it can also be very difficult, because when we are alone by ourselves is difficult, this journey. And when you have some other person triggering you instead of just mirroring your passion and your beauty, it can be a huge distraction, and it can make things more difficult, of course.
All right. Thank you for sharing this example. And I'm gonna smile a little now, so we kind of relax the field, because when we talk
Yeah.
about all these things, it can all become too serious, it can all become too tense, and so on. So, you know, no one left Earth alive, so to speak, if I joke a little bit in quotes. So no matter what happens or what is happening, because some of you came in touch with this recording right when you are going through some relationship issues. That's why you were searching for that kind of topics. And welcome, you are here. Because you came here, you are ready to release the pain. You are ready to relax. And you are ready to see the bigger picture. You are ready to feel that emotions are not the only energies in your life. Far from it. And then there is a place, there is a part of you that is completely in peace with anything that's happening, regardless of other people around you, whether you really love your partner or partners, because I want to be very clear here. It's nowhere written in the whole world and universe that there should be just two people sharing the relationship, even a romantic one. And I know it's still a big taboo in this world. However, we are all about going beyond limits here.
Mm-hmm.
And if it feels natural and comfortable for someone to be just with one person, romantically, consciously, perfect. If you feel like doing it with 10 people, if you are all conscious and able to do it, perfect. There is no rule. I would suggest from my side that heart-to-heart communication, openly communicating with each other, can really serve to make it joyful, balanced, and also to let people choose. Do they want to be in certain relationship? Do they want to leave it? You know, that there are no these hidden agendas or pleasing others and all of that. Because these mirrors that Leah mentioned and triggers that we are receiving through certain interactions, and let's also include now workplace relationship, school relationships, and we mentioned that friendships are generally big relationships, because if you have a fight with your good friend, it's sometimes almost as difficult as if it is with your husband or wife or lover, boyfriend, girlfriend. There are depths to relationships. And of course, we won't be able to cover it all today. We are playing with these energies, explaining a lot of interesting things. Beloved friends, always be aware of something, that you know your way. You are the one who really knows what is right for you. We are mirroring the wider expanded consciousness here, and then it is up to you what you want to do with this information, because everything is not for everyone. We are different beings. We experience life differently, and I feel it's an important thing to say, because this is also very connected with relationships. We many times assume that we see the situations the same way as the other being does, but it's just not true, unfortunately, because someone can perceive the same situations from a completely different point of view as you do. And then it can be a big fight just because you are looking at it differently, and you are trying to say to each other, I'm right, you're wrong, or you're wrong, or whatever comes up, or I'm wrong, you're right. I'm just painting this picture. But it's also part of balancing relationships, because let's be clear, we can't all just jump into completely enlightened relationships, because we have things that are happening in our lives, we have things from our past, emotional wounds, you see, heart wounds. There are so many heart wounds from this lifetime and others that are then preventing people to really share openly. So let's have compassion for it all. And yeah, one thing that it can balance it all is like an open communication, and also trying to meet each other in the middle. I'm gonna say it as it is, because maybe you're not a perfect match. Who is a perfect match on a human level? That's but if you try to meet in the middle, and I don't know, I'm gonna give an example. Like if someone needs a lot of time for themselves, and another person in relationship needs a lot of communication, then I would say if both beings are really friends and love each other, it could be really beneficial that the one who needs communication gets it from another person, even if she or he wouldn't normally communicate that much. And that another person, when the other says they really need time for themselves, maybe for a few days or whatever, that they communicated, then the other person then respects the space that the other person needs. Like this is a very basic, but I would say a beautiful, essential example of it. You can then expand it on any area or into any level. But people aren't always willing to respect that. And that's where usually emotions come up, anger comes up. There are many agreements made between people in general, because the whole world is the big ball of relationships. But they're being not honored a lot of times. And I'm not saying because people are evil or whatever. It's just because we are living in this emotional, limited state of existence. And that's why I have chosen quite some years ago, and Leah here as well, to really remember who we truly are beyond these limits. Because any emotional game that can bring you so much pleasure is sooner or later, as long as it is built on duality, also going to disappoint you. That's how duality was built. And I'll give my word to Leah now, because I became very passionate about explaining all of this, and let her continue with whatever she feels like. Maybe, Leah, we can touch a little bit also these other categories of different relationships.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about the romantic relationships. Like I said, that they can be very helpful and useful in the awakening path or embodiment or whatever you're going through. Is one thing I had for myself since I am a child, actually, is that people come and go. And in my life, it has always been like that. I mean, I know lots of people that, oh, they are my friends since I was 5 years old, and now they are like 50 years old and they still talk with that people. And all my friends were gone, like in a year or maybe later, like they would always be in a flow. And with romantic relationships, I have always felt that in my heart, like that I won't get married, or that I won't like live a long time with people. So I was never like too attached, so I couldn't let it flow, because it always has to flow. You cannot like stay too long with something when it's not appropriate for you anymore. And there can always be gratitude for the other person, for how they were maybe triggering you, or maybe simply being there and supporting you for the time it lasted. So for romantic and also for friendships, this is a very nice thing to point. And what else? Yeah, with friendships is like that too. Like I have some friends and then we do some things and they help me go through some phases, but then as I expand, it changes, and it made me sad. We were talking, Julian and I, the other day about it, that sometimes it's weird that we don't have like that many friends, that in this planet most people have many friends, but when you are changing so much, it is very hard that people will keep up with this pace, you know. You probably will have to find other people that will find you where you are, like at the level of expansion you are, and there will always be someone. That's something very magical. There will always be someone. You will never be alone, you know. You have always yourself. That's a beautiful thing, but there is always someone that is at the level you are and that can share with you what you're going through.
What Leah wanted to say, if you ask me, is tell you all, because she pointed it out so beautifully. I just want to give additional clarification that once you go into awakening or remembering who you truly are and also embodying of it, your higher self, because of the higher choice, can clear out your field a lot. And that's why it feels like there are not a lot of people around you anymore. Friends who used to be there, partners who used to be there, jobs that used to be there. Like, this is the essential message of it, because you are changing. And that's why also your surroundings are changing, you know? And it's nothing wrong with it. It can feel lonely at times. And we love to run into some imbalanced relationships just to kind of fill our time, to create a little bit of additional drama. And that's totally okay, because no one said that you have to hurry. No one said that you have to procrastinate. It doesn't matter. It's your journey. It's your natural flow of it. But of course, you can always make energetic choices that are opening you up into more free relationships, into more soul-filled connections. Because if I interact with some people, for me, it feels more superficial. I can still meet them on the level where they feel like being met, and I can still have all right time. I can talk about something more superficial and still feel some kind of energy connection. It's all right. But if I connect with another really conscious being, someone who's really allowing themselves to remember who they are, it feels different. It feels much more deep. It feels much more satisfying for me. And you got to know that people who are not choosing to be very free are sometimes not going to be able to stay around you, at least for some time, because you are too much reminding them of the freedom that you are now embracing within yourself. And it can make you very sad, because you're letting go of some people who are maybe dear friends of yours, or they used to be. But I just heard an amazing saying in one of the movies I'm watching right now, in one of the TV series actually. And it was like, if we can't be friends, it doesn't mean that we aren't. And let this sink in for a second. If we can't be friends, because this is also very useful when you end relationships, romantic ones and family ones and so on. If we can't be friends, it doesn't mean that we aren't. And I'm just gonna give us a minute, and if you feel like you can stop the video and feel into your answer, because now I'm gonna give mine, because we don't have a lot of time anymore. But just to be quick, can you feel, even if on a human level, in the human experience, we can't go together now for whatever reason? Maybe you're choosing something different. Maybe I'm choosing total freedom. Maybe it's just not for the highest good. It doesn't mean that we are not friends, because on a soul, higher conscious level, We are friends with so many. And thank you everybody who's watching, because most of you watching this are friends with me in one way or the other, even if we didn't meet in the human way in this lifetime. Okay, I'm just gonna say one more sentence and then I'm gonna shift it to Leah so she can have the closing minutes to herself.
Okay.
We couldn't cover everything today, but we covered a lot. It might happen that I will record, or that Leah will record, or maybe we record something together, like the specific parts of what we shared today, like more about romantic relationships, or more about friendships, or more about workplace relationships, or school relationships. There is so much in this topic, but be aware that you always have yourself. Your higher self is your best friend if you let it be.
Yes, that's right. One very important relationship that actually is the base of all relationships is your relationship to yourself, how you treat yourself and how you talk to yourself really, and the love you give yourself is what you are receiving from other people. And so it's always the best thing you can do is to love yourself. And that's a cliche. It's very like everyone is saying that, but it's the most beautiful truth, because loving yourself doesn't mean just looking at the mirror and liking how you look, but feeling good in your skin and knowing that each thing you are doing is the right thing. Like, you are in your path, you are doing the right thing, you are where you were supposed to be. And this is one thing that if you feel like, if you go like, oh, this is a cliche, and if you feel into it, you will feel the truth. You will feel in your heart that you are doing the right thing. And when you feel that and you feel comfortable with yourself, with who you are, and you can let this love flow through you, then all relationships will give you that as well. Mirror this love you are feeling.
Thank you, Leah, for these sharings. I will just be very quick now because we have the last minute. If you do not have a relationship now and you're really eager to have it, allow the perfect higher divine timing as well, because it's coming. Or relationships, one or more. And if you are in a relationship and it's complicated, it's tough, remember that this too shall change. Everything changes. And simply listen to your inner feeling, to your intuition, what is saying to you and where it's inviting you. But most of all, love yourself, and this love will then also be shared with others. So I thank you very much, everybody. Leah, will you say goodbye?
Yes, thank you everyone that joined today. Thank you, Julian, for this co-creation, and see you all the next time.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.